Welcome to On the Rise podcast. I'm Matt Ricker, here today with Kathy Savolt from the class of 1973. Kathy, thank you very much for joining us today.
Well, thank you for asking me. Happy to be here.
Of course. So welcome back to campus. Can you tell us a little bit about your education here at Iona? How would you categorize it, and what was your experience, and where did it ultimately lead you?
Okay. Well, I have to think way back. Class of 73. Things were very different back then than they are now. Iona was known as a liberal arts college, and I got a very solid liberal arts education. We weren't as specialized as many of the programs and many other students are today. And that liberal arts education served me very well because I was able to start with jobs where I then learned a lot of things, but I think the liberal arts education taught me how to be a critical thinker. And that's, I think, one of the most important aspects as you're beginning anything, to be able to understand things, analyze them, and not just accept what people are telling you or just gloss over things. So it led me to where I am today, sitting in a chair you and interviewing me. I'm still going.
Yeah. So you have a unique Iona story because you were part of the first graduating class where women graduated.
That's correct.
So what was your experience?
First women admitted to Iona College. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, we graduated in 1973, but we began our journey here at Iona in 1969. We all came in the beginning of 1969. We were a very small percentage of the total number of students who were on campus. And I think it's hard for people. I mean, I've met current students, grandchildren of friends of mine, who didn't even know that Iona didn't have women all the time. It was just a men's school. I call us the pioneers. We were the pioneers, and we forged our own way. And by the time we were seniors, the president of the football club was a female. The yearbook editor, I believe, was a female. I was president of the players. Women had grown to leadership positions in a few short years, but I think it spoke to the type of woman who came here and what they had to be in order to make it. Yeah.
No, that's very interesting there. So let's talk a little bit about your career journey. You've had several positions throughout your entire career. You were the former mayor of Mamaroneck.
That's correct.
You now work for a newspaper. You have an accounting background as well.
I don't have an accounting background. At least
sort of.
I didn't have an accounting background. I had a liberal arts background. Yes, I.
But yeah,
yes.
Can you just tell us about your career path and
Yes.
where it led you?
Well, first of all, we have to go back to 1969. There weren't a lot of women having careers, and certainly in my circle of people that my parents knew. My mother worked. She went back to work when I was in fourth grade, but she was a secretary here at Iona, in fact. And my father, they had jobs. They didn't have careers. So that's how I looked at things. I had to find a job when I graduated.
Right.
I wasn't thinking in terms of a long-term career because it just wasn't on my radar screen. So I got a master's degree in school psychology. I got licensed as a school psychologist. I thought I would get a job as a school psychologist, perhaps be able to do it for several years. But it was at the time when the baby boom was dropping, and there were local school districts who were actually laying off school psychologists. So I pivoted. My father, who worked for the post office and was a federal civil servant, he urged me to take the federal civil service test for college graduates, which I did. And the very first agency that called me was Social Security. And so I took a job at the Yonkers Social Security office, taking applications from retirees and disabled people. I moved on from there into another job with another agency, and from there I left and went into the private sector for a little while, working for a consulting firm that did consulting work for New York City agencies, and I found myself in healthcare for 20 years as a healthcare administrator. And it was there that my first job was as a budget director. And as I said to the CFO, I've never taken a business course. I'm good with numbers, and I can think. And he said, I don't want an accountant. I want somebody who can think. So now you have to understand, there were no computers back then. Desktop computers were just coming out. They bought the very first desktop computer at that hospital for me as the budget director, and I had to teach myself how to use it. So I taught myself the then version of Excel, which was called Lotus 123, word processing. And you just basically, I think Iona helped me learn to learn. So I was able to learn every time I was called upon to learn something new. And that, I think, is my career, which I guess it's a career now as you look back on it, trajectory throughout the entire time. An opportunity presented itself. I went from the consulting firm to the hospital because the CFO liked what I was doing and offered me a job. And then I moved on from there to another healthcare institution. And then I moved on there to Columbia University, where I spent several years among some of the smartest people on the planet and held my own. And so I think that Iona was a good foundation for that. And I learned all sorts of things. I was managing large, complex planning projects. And so I learned planning. I bought books and taught myself planning, talked to other people. And it just kind of took off from there. I took a hiatus for a while to care for my parents. And then when I went back to work, I was more in the not-for-profit world, helping smaller agencies, fixing their financial systems, learning QuickBooks, doing bookkeeping, straightening things out, doing strategic planning. Everything I had learned along the way all came to play in everything I've done since then. So,
And then I know you're the former mayor of Mamaroneck too? Yes.
Very
impressive.
When I took the hiatus to care for my parents, one thing I wanted to do was learn a little bit more about my community. I was born in the village of Mamaroneck. I didn't grow up there. I grew up here in New Rochelle, like I said, right behind the campus. But I really didn't know much about Mamaroneck when I bought a house there, so I volunteered to be on the budget committee because I had been doing a lot of budget work at Columbia and other places. Well, I was on the budget committee for just a few months when they asked me to run for office in the year 2000. And I said, why not? This is something I've never done. And I did, and I ran and I won. And so I was a trustee for 2 years, and I lost re-election. And I kind of faded into the woodwork for a while. And in 2007, I got a call. They had asked me to run for mayor, and I always said no, but I got a call in 2007 asking me if I would run for mayor. And I had taken a job over in Yonkers, and I had just left that job, and I was with my parents, taking care of them, and I was like, why not? Why don't I run for mayor? So I ran for mayor, and I won, which was much to my surprise. I beat an incumbent, and it was much to my surprise. But I found that it was just like any other job, except you were doing it on TV and in public, and you had everybody watching you.
Right. That actually leads to my next question. What was your favorite working experience?
I think I'm still having it. I've had a lot of favors because I've worked with a lot of really good people, and I've been doing a lot of challenging things. And a couple of years ago, the administration in the village were looking for volunteers, and I volunteered to be on the planning board since I had learned a lot about planning a couple of jobs ago.
Yeah.
And I got appointed to the planning board, and through some attrition, I got named to be the chairperson of the planning board. And I took the village through one of the most complicated environmental review processes that it ever had. So in January, 2021, we launched a online hyperlocal newspaper called the Mamaroneck Observer. I'm the editor-in-chief. I'm the reporter. I'm one of the reporters. I'm a photographer. I'm an editor. I basically do anything that needs to get done.
You wear many hats.
I wear many hats. And I have to tell you, it's great fun. We I think, had an impact on some changes that were made in the village of Mamaroneck. We have a new mayor. We have mostly a whole new board from the last election on. Now we have 4 new people on the board. We have a new village manager, the former city manager of New Rochelle, who also was a former corporation counsel here from Iona, Kathleen Gill, who's very good. And we are continuing. In fact, we published this morning online. We send out an email whenever we publish to over 4,000, over 4,200 people. We have an online presence, a Facebook presence, and so we're growing our audience. And we're to the point now where people send us emails and ask us to look into different stories.
That's great.
So I think we've got, and that's, we're making a difference, and it's fun working with friends, and it's fun just seeing something that never existed before and creating it. So
that's great. So you've served in many leadership roles throughout your career with plenty of opportunities to lead different groups of people in several different capacities. Have you noticed over time a particular it factor that you think helped people stand out in the workplace or got ahead during their careers?
I've seen a lot of things over the years. It's been a long time. And sometimes you see people get ahead that you don't think deserve it, and those things are going to happen in the world, Life is filled with good things and bad things.
Right.
I was never a games player. I tried to do my job. I tried to work well with people. I tried to, when asked to do something, do it. When I had an opportunity to take on more and learn more, I did it. I think that my personality was also a part of that. One size doesn't fit all. Not everybody has that in them. They don't want to be leaders, and the world can't have all leaders. We need people to do work. It's like what they call the consultants. There's the minders, the finders, and the grinders.
I like that.
Right, exactly. So but I think people who are listeners and work well with other people and can motivate and bring out the best in other people, I think that's something. When I was doing some large projects at Columbia, and I was leading a team of staffers and consultants, they loved me so much. They gave me a referee shirt and a whistle as a gift when we finished the first phase of the project. They were like, "Here, you need these." But I learned over the time from having good bosses and bad bosses. You're not there to yell at them or to make them feel bad. You're there to help them do their job. And so you just say to them, what can I do to help you be successful?
Right.
And that became sort of my mantra. And I wish that I had heard that when I was younger, because that would have made life a little easier. But yes, that's. I think that's a couple of good things there.
Yeah. No, thank you for that. So what was your most favorite memory here at Iona? And if you could do it all over again, would there be anything you would like to change?
I was a member of the Iona Players, and it was a good group of people, some of whom I'm still in contact with.
And that still exists here today,
And it still
too.
exists here today, and I've been back to see some of their shows recently. I think my fondest memory here at Iona is the people. And
Yeah.
not just the students, but some of the staff members, some of the faculty members, some of the people who went above and beyond.
So, what role does networking play in career advancement, and do you have any tips for effective networking?
Well, that goes back, networking wasn't a thing when I started in my first job, because at that point I still didn't have a career. I don't think I had a career until it ended. And I look back, I had jobs. But I think network can be very successful at this point in time. And I think I learned that when I had opportunities. When I went to work at Columbia, they would pay for me to go to training and join a professional organization, and I would go to those events and talk to other people and learn things from them. And as I moved forward, I had other opportunities to do that, and I think that's important, to put yourself out there and not to be shy, because believe it or not, I was shy at one point in my life. and sometimes around strangers I too tend to be a little more reserved. Any opportunity to put yourself out there, either to present yourself in a certain light, or to meet other people and learn about them, is valuable beyond words. Yeah.
That's great. So let's end with some content recommendations. Have there been any particular books that you found helpful throughout your career that you would recommend, or anything you're reading now that you would recommend?
You all have to know that this original question, he was going to ask me what podcasts, and I had to remind him that when I was coming up, there weren't even computers, much less podcasts. The internet wasn't a thing, But anyway, books were always available, and so I've read a lot of books, and I read a lot of novels because I feel it helps me understand the human condition. I know a lot of people don't do that, but my husband reads biographies because he loves reading about people and the interesting things they do. I said, but how do they feel? And that's where novels come in. You don't understand how Thomas Jefferson felt about things, and there were a lot of things he probably felt a lot about.
Right.
But so I've read a lot of novels over the years, but I think if I were to recommend, I have two books.
Sure.
One is a business book, and the other one, I would recommend All I Really Need to Know I Learned in Kindergarten. It's a book that came out, I think, in the late 80s or the early 90s or something. It's still available.
Wow.
I have a copy. You can borrow it from me. Be nice to others. Clean up after yourself. Listen to instructions. Don't. I'd add one to that. Don't speak up unless you know what you're talking about. Unless you're sure, don't just talk for the sake of hearing yourself talk.
Yeah.
We know a lot of people like that. Then I have two business books that I read when I was starting to work in strategic planning and starting to think about businesses and how to make them better. The author is Jim Collins, and he wrote Good to Great and Built to Last. One of them is with a co-author.
Okay.
But I think they're Harvard Business School. They studied successful businesses and found the common factors that made them not only last but get better. And I think that's good not only for businesses but for people in their lives.
Yeah.
So I found those two books very helpful. I read them multiple times as I was teaching myself strategic planning. Oh, by the way, and then when I got a job in strategic planning, I actually got hired by NYU, and I taught strategic planning for 2 semesters.
Oh, that's amazing.
I know.
Yeah.
In the Wagner Graduate School. I know, I was an adjunct professor. I've done a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, very impressive career that you've had.
Yeah.
And that you still have, since you're still
working.
Still at it.
Just not getting paid, right?
Well, Kathy, thank you very much for
and
stopping
Matt,
by.
thank you for
this
inviting
was
me.
a great conversation.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed talking with you and about your experience here at Iona and in the working world. And I hope you stop by again and we'll have another conversation.
You need me for anything, just ask.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you very much. And thank you all for listening to On the Rise podcast. I'm Matt Ricker. We'll see you next time. Take care.